In a week of scorching temperatures and strong winds, somehow a spark. Suddenly, this semi-rural community on the outskirts of Perth was under siege. This was the scene from Liam Tedesco's family home on Wednesday afternoon. He was down the road when he heard the fire was approaching and called his brother for advice on whether to run home through the smoky bush to try to save their house.
We were arguing. I was like, just go, just have a run, go for it. And he said, yeah, F it, I'm going. Just sprinted.
Honestly, adrenaline was in. I was just running through the bush, kangaroos jumping out everywhere. I was just like, get out of my way.
They were still on FaceTime when Liam arrived at the house, confronted by smoke and flames.
He just started saying, oh, and then the phone died. And I was just like, no.
Thankfully, Liam was okay, and thanks to his efforts, so is the house.
We've lived here our whole life. We used to catch a school bus down the road and walk down to that school bus with many of the people that lost their houses. And that's one thing we're reflecting on. You do have a bit of survivor's guilt in one of these situations. Yes, I know that we stood back and defended it, but it's everyone around us. I'm not sure if it's ever going to be the same.
It's really very stark just how indiscriminate this fire was. The Tedesco family house behind me, still intact, even their rose garden is. Just 15 metres or so from here, the next door property, the house there, completely burnt to the ground.
I just don't know how it works. And it's unfair for the people who've lost everything. They're in a worse situation than I am.
18 homes have been destroyed in suburbs north of Perth in the city of Wanneroo. Animals and sheds have also gone. Emergency relief funding is being offered to those who've lost everything. The cause of the fire, which started in forest land, is still being investigated.
Wednesday night was quite catastrophic, frightening. We had trouble with the smoke and all the sparks flying around and trying to save houses.
Ian Hammond has been a volunteer firefighter for 40 years. These conditions you've been up against the past few days, is this kind of as bad as it gets in terms of the heat and the winds you've been facing?
Yes, I think so. This is really up there. I was in New South Wales in '94, up in the Blue Mountains, and that was pretty wild too. So, yeah, it's up there with the rest of them.
And is that worrying considering we haven't even officially started summer yet?
Very worrying. I think the crews are going to be stretched this year.
Perth's unprecedented November heatwave has seen temperatures soaring above 30 degrees every day for the past week, reaching close to 40 some days.
Oh, it's really unusual this early, and well, we haven't actually officially hit summer yet, but the fact that we've been having these conditions in November and even prior to this week, we saw some pretty extraordinary conditions earlier into November. So yeah, it is very unusual, and I think there's a long, hot summer to come yet.
It's cooling down over the next few days, and the bushfire is now contained and controlled. Back in Wanneroo, around 200 Christmas trees at this farm were lost, but many more were spared in time for this business's busiest time of the year. A couple of doors down, Vesa Trandos is also counting herself lucky.
These are my heroes. They've saved my house.
How scary was it for you?
Very scary. Very scary.
Me.
Her son and grandson filmed this footage while they stayed to defend their home.
The winds was chopping and changing, were coming in all in different directions. 1 minute it was coming easterlies, and the next minute it was going south, and you think, yes. Crikey, what's going on? The wind just kept changing. That's why the fire kind of went around my mum's place and then went over to the neighbour's place.
Unfortunately, all the houses behind there, including my uncle's, has been affected and been burnt. Stables lost, sheds, 3 or 4 houses gone. What can you do?
Yeah, we've definitely learnt a lot this time. So
Yes.
Just hope there's not a next time.